Welcome back to Core in Commerce. As we kick off the new year, today's episode is all about reflection, manifestation, and creating a practical toolkit to help you take meaningful steps in your career in 2026, whether you're looking to pivot, grow, or gain clarity on your next move. I'm so excited to be joined by Tess Everingham, a high-profile career coach who also happens to have coached me as I transitioned from corporate to entrepreneurship. Tess has guided me through my own career journey, helping me gain clarity, confidence, and direction, and I can't wait for her to share her insights with all of you. She's known for being practical, insightful, and sometimes delightfully direct, pushing her clients to achieve real progress. Tess has worked with organizations from Westpac to Qantas, bringing a wealth of experience to today's conversation. Tess, welcome to Core in Commerce.
Thanks, Perry. I'm delighted to be here.
I am so excited for this episode, and it's a little bit different than what we typically do. This is going to be more of a workshop style. It's going to come out in the new year when everyone's thinking about that career reset. They're doing their affirmations, they're thinking about their manifestations, and it is just the perfect time of year to take a step back and really reflect on how the last year went and set intentions for the incoming year.
I agree. Hopefully, your viewers, listeners have also given themselves a really good break over Christmas, because I think life's so busy that it's great to start the new year with having experienced true relaxation.
Truly. It's so funny. So this year I'm staying in Sydney. And last year I went back home, and as wonderful as it was, of course, to see my family, I came back so drained because going back to the US, you lose 2 days. You've already done the 15-hour flight getting there. And I said to my mom this year, I am so busy with work. I want that rest and renewal. And I would benefit more from just quiet time in Sydney, watching the holiday in my apartment than I would by going back home and, being on socially, feeling like I had to see all my friends. So for me, it's a really good starting point. For me, I made that choice of what do I really need to rest and renew? And it was just that.
I love that you made that choice.
So I think for listeners, this is a really fun episode for me because oftentimes we have incredible guests who come on and it's my first time meeting them and we're kind of establishing chemistry as we go throughout the episode. But Tess is actually my personal career coach, and I want to give a little bit of foundation as to how we first connected, because we're going to get into some workshop elements that are a bit broader and more applicable to you guys as the listeners. But I think it's really important that you understand my background and how we started working together, so you get that I practice what I preach too, and everything we're talking about are workshops that I've actually done firsthand with Tess. So, Tess, to take us back in the time machine, I'm going to share where I was the first time we ever met, and that was over a Zoom meeting. And I was a little bit confused on the difference between a career coach and a therapist and a life coach. This is a little nebulous. I don't know the difference. So I'm just going to hit you with my entire life story and see what you pick up and what you throw down, where your boundaries are, and we'll kind of go from there. At this point, my personal episode will have come out, so I think listeners will know a little bit more about my background. But the high level was, hey, Tess, I've had a complete career and personal crash out. I've moved to the other side of the world, to Sydney, Australia. I don't know what I want to do with my life. Help. I remember you saying in that call that you thought that I had gumption. It just gave me chills at the time, because at the time I thought that I was totally all over the map. I thought I had blown everything up, and you just met me with the most flattering word you could have said, which was, wow, you're brave. And from there, I felt like the floodgates had opened, and I felt like I immediately trusted you and wanted to work with you. And I felt like in that moment, I cared less about where the boundary was, and I felt more open to, okay, career bleeds a little bit into personal, personal bleeds a little bit into career, and you've completely made me feel at ease as we're getting started on this conversation and this journey together, where I don't really need to be so concerned with those limits. So, Tess, from your perspective, how did you feel about that first meeting?
I love it when I have a first meeting where there's real connection, and I felt there was real connection with us. I think one of my favorite personal qualities is courage. There's a great quote by, I always mispronounce her name, I think, but Anais Nin, the French writer, your life expands and contracts in proportion to your courage. And I just recognize that in you, and I love that in you. I also have read that in therapy, and coaching's not therapy, but one of the biggest indicators of a successful relationship and a productive relationship in therapy is the connection between the client and the therapist. And I just felt that we had a really strong connection straight away. I knew you were going to do great things.
I think also an important anecdote, and this is 0% to gas myself up at all, but I think it's really important if you are someone who's maybe considering a career pivot or getting into coaching. At the time, you actually kicked off the call and you said, I went on your LinkedIn. It's incredible. You've got achievements, you've got awards, you have an insane, resume, you've been promoted multiple times. What do you need me for? And that was also something that I really appreciated at the onset, is that you made me feel my career had mattered to this point. And of course it had. I was coming to you at a point where I was probably pretty low, and my ego was definitely not in a place where I was feeling like, on top of the world. And you even opening the conversation with that went so far with me, because I was like, you know what, you're right. That my career up to this point isn't something to be wasted or, tossed out. I'm just going through something personally and professionally where I need to pivot and figure out what's next, but I don't need to cast away this career that I've had before. And that also made me feel really safe in that first conversation.
Yeah. And I think one of the great things about a coach is that they see things maybe in a more unbiased light, and they can see it clearly. And I think you can have people in your life that love you. Perhaps they're invested in you going in a certain way. Mm-hmm. They want you to be safe, or they want you to make money, or they want you to use your degree or whatever. Mm-hmm. Whereas a good coach is not going to bring any of that to the table. It's about uncovering what you want and where you want your life to go, not where your partner wants it to go, not where your mum wants it to go, but what you really want. And I think, that's so in a world that is so busy, where people rarely have time to reflect. Just like, honestly, sometimes I think I could be the worst coach in the world. Mm-hmm. And as long as I just shut up for an hour and let you talk and ask a couple of questions and truly listen, that in itself is really valuable.
Absolutely. I think there were a number of sessions where, even leading up, I was like, I have nothing to talk about. I have no developments, probably haven't done the homework that you've given me, mm-hmm. and I wanted to cancel. And then I would get into the session, and just by way of being able to talk about that and talk about where I was and say, hey, I am having total imposter syndrome. You saying that I should build a website, and we'll get into some of the more tactical elements, but you saying I should set up a website or post this on LinkedIn, I totally chickened out, couldn't do, and even just you asking why, what, actually getting mm-hmm. to the thick of it, because we do so much just going into, solution mode of going through the motions, but not actually digging into the why. And why am I feeling that way? Why am I afraid to put something out on LinkedIn? And oftentimes the answer, that feels like a big announcement, and that feels like I'm clearing something. And something that you told me that has always stuck with me is that I need to be more playful. Mm. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I think that we can get very heavy, and that can kill creativity, and everything can seem so important. And yeah, I think that you don't have to have all the answers yet. Let's just play around with it. Let's see what comes up for you. Get into your body's energy. Like, mm-hmm. when do you feel excited and interested, and when do you feel bored? Like, all of that is really important. Sometimes I take perspective to the nth degree when I'm coaching someone, and they're so heavy about everything. And I'll go, we're all dying, right? Like, we're all dying. Like, let's lighten up here. You've only got one life. It's short.
I think we're so precious about our career and what it means for our own identity.
For a lot of reasons, it maybe feels more competitive now, that you've got to be special, or you've got to be great, or you've got to find your thing, or you've got to find your purpose. And I believe all of those things can happen, but there doesn't have to be this massive pressure for them mm-hmm. to happen right now. You just need to take the steps and be brave enough to do that. Because I think sometimes that massive pressure stops you from taking any steps, because it could be the wrong step. you're not doing anything. You're not moving forward.
That is a common theme. So we interview a lot of founders and entrepreneurs, and that idea of taking messy action, I think, comes up across the board. And I always ask, what would you scream at yourself 10 years ago? Now that you have the successful business, what would you say? Oh my gosh, I wish this was just the voice in my head. And it is always just start, take messy action. It's better done than perfect. We hear these themes across the board, but I think, especially if you're someone who's maybe pivoting from a senior level role or a corporate role, it is quite uncomfortable to put something out there that feels imperfect or half-baked or not totally there. And you feel like there's eyeballs on that for some reason, but it's better to just get started.
I've been thinking a lot about all of these perfect LinkedIn posts and AI and how much more delightful it is to see a LinkedIn post that is less than perfect. I was also watching a series the other day called The Film Club with Amy Lou. What's the show that's set in a resort?
White Lotus.
Yes, White Lotus.
Okay.
And she's got really sort of non-traditional looks and quite prominent teeth. And I find her face delightful because it's just beautiful and different.
It's different.
And so I think the imperfections, like no one likes a perfect friend. Like it just doesn't feel authentic. It's so much lovelier when you know all their quirks. And so I think, don't wait for it to be perfect. Just do it and let people embrace that real you.
It's so funny you mentioned the friend bit because we've actually gotten into that in some of our sessions where I've shared with you, I live on the other side of the world. So catching up with anyone from home requires me waking up at 6 a.m., setting the day around it. It's in the calendar. And I had kind of opened up to you about how there are certain friends where I just feel like they have all of it together. They are, beautifully pregnant and the white picket fence and all the things. And sometimes, if we're being so real, that was triggering for me. I'm in this period of self-discovery and not knowing what's next. Sometimes catching up with those friends feels like I'm behind.
But he feels that way as well. I mean, I love what I do and I love these conversations I have. Everyone compares themselves to other people and thinks that other people are having a joy ride. But nobody gets through life unscathed. And, we all go through our ups and downs, but it's also completely normal to feel that way. So I think just accepting that and doing what you need to do to protect your own energy is fine.
I think there's a key distinction here, which is you love these friends and you wish them well and you want all of the good things in the world for them. It's just a matter of the type of information you let flow in and out and what you put at the forefront. And I've talked about before on this podcast is your social media is kind of like your board of directors. So if you have people on Instagram that are triggering to you in any way, they could be super successful. So it's causing you to feel behind. You're in your wellness era and you're just seeing someone going out and partying every Saturday. Clean it up and treat your social following like your board of directors because that's really your sphere of influence.
I definitely think you want to surround yourself with people who inspire you and give you energy. And especially when you're feeling a bit shaky, you don't want to be around people that make you second guess yourself too much. And those people are great to have in our lives when we're feeling a bit more cocky and confident because they can bring us down to earth. But when you're a little sapling that's just coming up with an idea, you just don't want someone telling you all the things that are wrong with that idea, not until it's had a bit of a chance to grow. Realize that I'm just running my own race, not competing with somebody else.
I love that. Everyone is running their own race. For me, it took so much time and personal growth to get to that place of realizing that the only timeline that matters is the one inside your gut. It takes a lot of life experience, and it's so much easier said than done to say, I've talked even about my wedding and how at the end of the day it was just a party. Yes. But nobody believes you. If you're a new bride, all you want to do is have the biggest event of the year. And I simply can't get through to people and saying, hey, focus on the relationship, focus on the marriage. Go to couples counseling instead of spending the money on this big venue. But until you go through some of this stuff yourself, you can't really come out on the other end with that perspective.
Like, it's so interesting, isn't it? I read about someone who had the cheapest wedding ever. They made it like a breakfast wedding on the beach, and there was cereal and fruit and yogurt and champagne, and that was kind of it. But you just don't buy into that, right? You
Right.
buy into the whole. And I was even reading about Carolyn Bessette Kennedy's wedding, which was also quite simple and small.
And the most iconic wedding dress of all time.
And beautiful. But yeah, we just get somehow sucked into what everyone else is doing.
I think that's a really good transition to what I want to talk about next is really when it might be time to seek coaching or seek some external support to really take inventory of your life and reflect. So, Tess, could you tell us maybe some of the key reasons why someone might want to engage a career coach or when they might know that it's time?
It can be that you're at a crossroads and you've got a big decision to make, or you feel like you could go one way or the other and you're not sure which is the right way for you. So that can be interesting. Sometimes you're stuck or you want more in your life. Sometimes something natural kind of happens, like your role's made redundant or you're looking for a new job. That can be a great time to get a coach. I mean, there are so many reasons, Perry. Sometimes it can be a gnawing feeling that you've had for a while that you're just not living your life the way you want to live your life or as big as you want to live your life or in the right way for you. And you've sort of lost touch with who you are. And sometimes people see me on a kind of ongoing basis because they really love that opportunity for reflection, challenge, accountability. Am I on the right track? Am I doing things right? So sometimes it's kind of a program where maybe you've got 6 sessions over 3 to 6 months and we get something big done. But sometimes it can be an ongoing relationship where it's once every 1 or 2 months and we just check in and, okay, do you remember? Like, do you remember what you're trying to achieve here? Do you remember who you are?
I think when I first met with you, I felt this sort of pressure to declare something. Where I was coming from was genuinely probably in the place of someone in that category of, I just feel like I'm not living to my potential, to my truth. I don't know what it is, but I want to figure out what it is. And I can't even put a bow on it because I am so far from even knowing what that thing is. But I did feel a little bit of pressure to say, I came from corporate and I'd like to get into entrepreneurship. Or, how often do you see that with your clients? And is that kind of a relatable feeling for someone who maybe is resonating with what you said, but feels that pressure of, but I need to have a perfectly buttoned up reason in what I'm looking for?
Yes. There's a part of you inside you that does know. It's just we need to give it time to emerge, to rise to the surface. Clients where I swear they're getting a bit cross with me. Like, it's like, can't you just tell me what to do, Tess? You're like, where's the lightning bolt? Like, I should have it figured out by now.
Right.
Also, I don't take that personally because it's just the frustration of, I almost call it wrestling. It's like when you're wrestling with, I just don't know exactly what it is or where I'm heading. And I think you did this. I don't think it was easy, but I think you did this. The trick is to not, it's so uncomfortable, that not knowing, that you want to jump out of it straight away and say, this is what I'm going to do. There, now I've made a decision. I feel better. But you're better to almost stay in the struggle until the clarity emerges. And what I loved about you is in our very last session, when really you got this clarity, if we look back to our first session, you could see the link. Like, all of the things you were saying in the first session kind of came to fruition in the last one. And you didn't have to throw out all this amazing experience you had. It all kind of came together. And there was almost this, well, of course, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, it's now so obvious. How can we not have figured that out in the first session?
I want to break that down because that for me was the most transformative thing, was looking back on day one to the last day that we had worked together. So on the very first day in our very first session together, you kind of asked me about my why. And we dug deep into, what would you want to make your lasting impact on the world if you could do anything? Forget how to monetize it. Forget even if it's a career that exists today. What is the thing that gets you up out of the morning? And I said to you that for me, it was the ability to share my story and help other women throw away their timelines and say, I'm going to do what's ever best for my mental and physical health and forget some of the rhetoric that's been shoved down our throats through society, because I have learned it firsthand. It is a farce. And all I wanted to do was help other women get to a place where they felt like they were managing their mental and physical wellness well and sustainably for a long time. My background was in corporate marketing for, big media partners at the time. I felt no linkage to that message and what I had done in my career. We worked together over the course of the last year, and there were meetings where I felt highs. I came away really energized. And oh my gosh, do you remember when I wanted to start selling trucker hats at the Sydney Farmers Market? I was like, I'm going to make mental health trucker hats and sell them at the Sydney Farmers Market. That was one of my big ideas. But that was one of those times where I was feeling that itch to just declare something and tell you that I was doing something, because you nailed it. There is peace in decision making. And I was like, cool, starting a merch company. Tess, I've got it. We're going to run with this. And I remember you said, okay, let's buy some hats. Let's go to the farmer's market. Let's see how you
suck
feel.
It and see is, I think, what I said. Like, let's just try
Let's try that. Let's get playful. We don't need to start a merch empire today. Maybe just sell a few hats. And that was kind of our process, is we would ebb and flow as time would go by, and I would have some ideas that I got excited about. And then I want to take us to one of our very last meetings, which was a pretty low point for me, actually. I was nearing the end of my MBA. I felt like everyone around me was in this pressure cooker where every time we got together, all we talked about was how we're getting thrown out of the country. No one knows what they want to do with their career. No one feels like they're coming away better than when they came in. And all of these things are just things we build up in our heads. And of course, it's like the collective conversation when we're all in this pressure cooker together. Oh, I can't get a job. Oh, I can't get a job either. Everything kind of builds in one. And at the same time, I was having a lot of anxiety about going back home and some of the family issues that I had shared with you. And it just felt like it was all coming to a head. And I felt like, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Everything we've worked on, forget it. I'm just going to go back and do corporate marketing. And I left that meeting like totally dejected. I was inconsolable. There was nothing you could say that was going to get me out of this like writer's block of, well, I know how to make money at the end of the day, so I'm just going to do that. In that meeting, you had suggested that I would say confront the beast and have some really big and hairy conversations with some of the closest people in my life, including my family, about some of these anxieties and about some of my concerns with, potentially going back to the US or what life would look like after the program. And after stewing on it, I decided to take your advice and ultimately did that. And one of my favorite expressions in life is honesty is disarming, and just hitting those people with just raw honesty of like, I can't even catch my breath. I'm so anxious. I was met with total love, total acceptance. And it was like shocking to me that they, instead of saying, hey, the day your program ends, we're expecting you to go take on the world. It was like, the day your program ends, we don't want to hear a thing about your future plans. For once, do some digging and have some fun. You are always, always, always declaring your plans, chasing, going a mile a minute. And it was through that ability to finally be playful. I finally felt like I had that golden seal where I could actually try some things out, that it was like the lights came on again, the sparkle came back, and I finally felt like, oh my God, if no one's expecting me to be the next Elon Musk, then I could actually probably become the next Elon Musk, because I just feel like it can come from within.
Yes.
And I can actually be playful and have some fun and throw some spaghetti at the wall. So that brings us to our very last session.
Yes. But just before we go on to the last session, I think also in having that conversation, that what you heard from those people closest to you is that we will still love you if you're not the next Elon Musk. Like, this narrative that you've got going in your head that we expect this stuff from you is not actually the narrative. And then that makes you confront your own narrative in your head. Like, we all have these stories about other people and what they're thinking, and stories about ourselves. And I think in having that conversation, you got to maybe confront that.
I got to finally say it out loud.
Yes.
And I had never said out loud, I feel that you expect me to be, and I said it as like the normal one.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you expect me to be the one with a certain type of career, a certain type of relationship. And I've talked about this on my solo episode of how that led me to getting into the wrong marriage, the wrong career, the wrong path. It was some sort of thing in my stomach that I felt that was my job, was to perform in a certain role, like Perry starring in the role of this family member.
Mm.
And finally saying it out loud and confronting that, everyone was like, who cast you in this? I'm the casting director and nobody wants you in this role.
Yeah.
Go play the role of the understudy.
Yep.
Like nobody is expecting this of you except yourself. And that was kind of that turning moment of realizing, oh, am I the one who put all this
Yeah.
pressure on myself, and
Yeah.
everyone else is just loving that I'm at the beach every day in Sydney and not expecting some big declaration of what's next? It was so freeing.
And why do I need to have this extraordinary expectation of myself that I'm going to achieve something great? Like where did that come from? And how much is that handicapping me in a sense from living the life I was meant to lead?
And I think until you get to that breakthrough of, oh my gosh, this doesn't have to be my magnum opus, this can just be something I'm trying right now,
Yeah.
you can't get any closer to that feeling of I'm living in my truth and I'm
Mhm.
living, the career and the life that I really want. So I think once I hit that point, it was like the skies had opened
Yeah.
and I felt finally that ability to be playful. And by our last session, which coincided with the end of my business school experience, I just felt like I was coming to you again with 100 ideas like we had at the beginning. And such was born this podcast. Such was born
Yeah.
Pilates Gang. Try as much as possible. See what sticks. See what works for me. Not even what's most lucrative and what's,
Yes.
I'm getting the most external validation on. What am I loving? And I shared with you as we were walking in today that, this morning I was going and filming a matcha pop-up. And a year ago, I couldn't even imagine my job being to put on my Pilates outfit and go film at a matcha pop-up. And it just, because I'm in this era of just being playful and trying things, now such is my job.
Yes.
And it just feels so good. It's like I'm leaning into where it feels good. And my passion is wellness and Pilates. And that energy is contagious, I think, to those communities because they can tell, oh my God, she's finally doing something that turns her on and she's really loving.
Yes. And I think creativity is one of your superpowers, but courage, as we've talked about before, is also one of your superpowers. And now you're being brave. Like you're being brave every day and you're just doing it. I love that.
We have done a lot of table setting on my career background, how we've worked together. And I think that was really critical so that you all feel trust in this process. And especially, Tess is an incredible top career coach, but I've shared these personal anecdotes so you kind of understand that we go deep here.
Yep,
we leave
we
it
go
all.
deep.
We leave it all on the table. So what I'd like to do now is almost a little bit of a simulation of a coaching session. And I think what we could do is maybe pick a common, specific thing that someone that might be struggling with in their career. And maybe we put a wrapper on it, like it's the new year. And maybe this person is going through some kind of career change. I'll let you put your own kind of parameters of something you might see most commonly. And then let's kind of talk through what a coaching process might look like for them.
Think about 2025. What stood out for me? What did I learn about myself? How did I grow? What am I most proud of? All of those questions and maybe journaling on those questions are a great and really worthwhile spend of your time and energy.
What do you think is a question that we don't think about enough?
How can I be more true to myself? Just think, our lives are so busy and we're buzzing all the time and we're distracted all the time and we can't bear to just be sitting there for longer than 30 seconds without picking up our phone or doing something. We're almost living these lives where we never reflect or we're never intentional. And yeah, I think to do a bit of a journal at the end of the year, really, really important.
I read this book. I'm sure you've read it. We both love our
Yes.
self-development
Yes.
books. But Ikigai. Have you heard of
No,
them?
I haven't read
Okay,
that one.
so it's the Japanese.
Oh, I pronounce it Ikigai.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you probably pronounce it right.
You probably pronounce it right.
Someone
but yes,
can
I
check
have.
us on this.
Yes.
But I think it's a really good way to frame if you're totally mind blocked and looking for some sort of career pivot. So it intersects what you're really good at, what the world needs, and what people could pay you for.
Yes.
And then you kind of try to find the thing that has the most overlap in that. I love things like that because they feel tangible. Do you think there's a lot of intersection with career and personal when you're making these kind of lists?
Oh, completely. I mean, it's all our life. It's why there's nothing, it's a myth, I think, that people come to me for coaching and they're like, oh, I shouldn't talk about, this in my private life. And I'm like, everything's connected.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, if you have a life where all you're managing is your job or your business, and you forget about maybe you as a leader and how you manage other people and who you want to be for them and how you want to impact their lives, if you forget about that, and if you also forget about managing your brand and actively managing your career and having a brand that maybe goes beyond your current business or your current role, like your reputation, what are you known for? And God forbid if you forget your life and your health and your relationships and your identity, then that's no life at all. Like all of these, you've got to manage all of these streams, and because they're all important.
And gone are the days of compartmentalization. The work-life balance is like it's work-life integration.
Yes. Really, I think coaching is about what's the best life for me and how do I live my best life? And, sometimes, especially socially, people will say, are you a life coach with that tone in their voice? And I guess often I'll say, I'm a leadership and executive and career coach. That's what I focus on. But between you and me, a coach is a coach. Like, of course, your life comes into it. Otherwise, it's not a very authentic relationship.
Can you give just a really palatable version of what is the difference between a career coach, a therapist, and a life coach?
Sure. So I would say, I might even add in a couple. I would say if a mentor is somebody that knows something that you don't know or has experiences that they can share with you, and if a consultant can show you how to do something or definitely knows something you don't know, if a therapist, maybe you identify something that is kind of holding you back and you need to dig into that and figure out what it is and how to stop it impacting your life now. Coaching at its essence is, where do I want to go? Like, what do I want? Am I sure that I really want it? Am I sure it's the right thing for me? And then figuring out how to get there. What are the steps to get me there? So coaching at its essence is very forward focused. But having said that, again, the lines are a little blurry.
Totally.
Like of course, you will have things that are holding you back in your career. And I guarantee this will not be the first time they've emerged. This sense of wanting to be great or wanting to be nothing that Perry has, like, I've got to be fantastic. This is not the first time that it's emerged in your life. It's come up before, and it's probably come up in your personal life as well as your professional life. So of course we explore that as well. But this, I'm a fan of therapy as well. I love a bit of therapy. I think coaching and therapy is really about knowing yourself better. You should know
I like
yourself
the distinction between, for therapy, oftentimes it's looking backwards as to why I am the way I am. And I love the distinction that coaching is more forward looking. So here's where we are. Let's take inventory, and here's how we want to go forward. Okay. I want to transition into a little rapid fire. So
Okay.
this section, we're going to do two. One will be a little bit more fun and just your faves.
I'm not prepared for this, Perry.
And one will be, and this is not the be all end all, so don't think this is a total prescriptive analysis, but there are a few career hot takes that I think are topical and have happened a lot recently. And if you just have a quick snippet of advice for someone in some of these more specific positions. So first one, someone who has a career gap on their resume. What is something you would say to them in terms of positioning something like that?
Yeah, don't worry about it. I think that the times when you couldn't have a career gap are long gone. You should have a narrative around that. So if you're asked about it, you've got something to say. But even if what you say is, I decided to take a sabbatical and consider what I really wanted, and I also went to Costa Rica and did some volunteering, they're not going to question that career gap. They're going to go, wow, I wish I could have a career break as well. So I think it's all about owning it.
Do you think you should include a cover letter or some sort of memo if there is a sizable career gap, let's say years?
I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't highlight it in a cover letter. If it was years, I might think about having a consultancy. It might be, Tess Everingham Proprietary Limited, where I was consulting to, I might come up with something where it highlighted part-time work that I'd done or something like that, if I felt that it was really a problem for me.
That's a great idea. For someone who hates networking events, the not us of the world, what is something that you recommend they do mentally right before walking into a room where they have to shake hands and kiss babies and it is their least favorite thing in the world?
Oh, have you heard of the small town mayor? Mayor? How do you pronounce it? Mayor?
Mayor.
Mayor in America. Philosophy where before you go into a room, you should imagine that you're like the mayor of a small town and you're like looking at everyone, you're like smiling, you're like, hi, how are you? You're kissing the babies, you're patting the dogs. Look, networking is hard for a lot of people. It's really necessary, especially now that applications for roles and pitches are so easy to pull together with AI, and we're being kind of inundated with applications of one kind or another. Networking truly is the secret sauce. So for me, and also I think interacting with other human beings makes you happy, and then you can make professional friends who then become real friends and bring light to your life. But you have to figure out a way to make it yours. And so that for you might mean not going to a big networking function. It might mean doing one-on-one networking, or it might mean a sit-down lunch where you're at a table with 10 other people and you're more comfortable. If you do have to go to a big function, I have this thing even with myself lately. Again, this might seem a bit out there, Perry. I don't think I've said it to you before. But I have this thing where I'm like, remember who you are. Like, remember who you are, Tess. I said it to myself. This is the first time I've done this kind of a filmed vlogcast. And so, of course, you get a little nervous. And I was coming in and I was like, remember who you are. Remember what you've done with your life. Remember what you've overcome. Even remember that you, Perry, are descended from generations of ancestors who have survived floods and famines and wars and plagues. And here you are.
Macro lens.
But yeah, I mean, we are. Like, look at us. We're survivors. So for me, it's just this switch where I take a deep breath, put my shoulders back, remember that I'm as good as anybody else in this room, and, go queen. Like, just go and be there. You belong.
When people fangirl over celebrities or something like that, it's the classic just humans doing a job.
Yes.
The same way you go to your desk job and show up every day. They're just performing in a different light and in a different setting.
Yes.
But I love that. And I also love going back to what you said earlier. We're all going to die. So take a stab.
Yes.
Don't do anything. Like, don't cancel any ideas because you're fearful, basically.
Also, sometimes when I love doing workshops. It's I rock a workshop, like I'm into them in a big way. The performer in me comes out. But again, of course, I get nervous before a workshop. And just like Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, her sort of alter ego, I've almost got this other Tess that just before I go into the room, I like step into this other Tess, which is kind of like acting a part, but she's still me. She's just a slightly more confident version of me. And it really helps.
I think everyone needs to have a version of themselves that they think in their brain is a different person.
Yes.
Every time I do any sort of public speaking or performing or, acting, I always I don't have a name for her. It's not Sasha Fierce. I'm not that deep in the lore there, but I have a little thing that goes off in my brain of you are performing in the role of Perry. I don't know how I turn it on or off. It's a thing that happens where I say, oh, you're just a vessel playing the role of someone else today if you are, getting up in front of a stage or something like that. And you guys have to know this about Tess. She recently got into improv, which I think is the coolest thing. And you told me that the reason you started doing it was just you wanted to just shake things up and move your body around and do something that scared you.
Yeah.
And that is one of my favorite life sayings is do something today that scares you.
Yes.
And I remember you slid over your laptop and you were like, does this look totally crazy or should I just go? And I was like, you're going tonight.
Yeah.
We're not waiting a day. You're going to improv tonight. How was it?
It was great. I loved it. I think it could be my thing. I really do think it could be my thing.
It's so good. And also, not for nothing, you were probably meeting such a different group of people than you ever would have been rubbing shoulders with.
And that's, again, kind of invigorating. And I like this. Everyone gets scared. It's just the difference between people that let that feeling cripple them and the people that kind of move forward even though they're scared. And lately I've had, and I must admit it's mostly women, but lately I've had a few clients that talk to me about this feeling less than. I feel less than other people. I don't feel like I'm as good as everybody else. And again, you can feel it. You don't have to listen to it. And often when we've got that less than feeling, you can identify that you've still got another part of you that absolutely gets that you're fine and you're great and you're worthy and you're as worthy as everybody else. And it's almost like, okay, accept that you feel that too, but you also feel this and lean into this. Don't slap this one around and send it to the corner. It's there. It's okay. But lean into this one.
We both are big Elizabeth Gilbert fans.
I love a bit of Liz Gilbert.
And in Eat, Pray, Love, it reminds me of the part about missing her ex-husband where she says, so miss me and then love him and let him go.
Yes.
It's almost the same principle of, so feel those feelings, feel imposter syndrome. Oh my God, we all do. It's totally relatable. Feel it, let it sink in, know that it's sitting there, and then go back into that Sasha Fierce mode and just love it and let it go. Because we're never going to change some of those feelings of, you could be on top of the world and you will still probably feel like there's someone better suited to be there.
We're human.
That's right. That's never going to go away. But if you can do some of those modalities of switching into that other mindset of, oh, but I'm performing in the role of yes today, it doesn't really matter.
We've talked about Elizabeth Gilbert's Letters from Love, haven't we?
Yeah, you should share.
And I love that she has a sort of a weekly program where she shares a letter from love that she's written herself, but now there are just tens of thousands of people following that are also writing themselves a letter from unconditional love. And she often will have a kind of a lead in. So it might be, dear love, what would you have me know today about having to be the best? And then you write about that. But it can just be, dear love, what would you have me know today? And you write yourself that letter from the spirit of unconditional love, which spells soul, SOUL, spirit of unconditional love, which I love. And it's just a beautiful, we're also hard on ourselves, and everything really starts with a bit of self-compassion and not beating yourself up.
Oh my God. If one of my friends spoke to me the way that I speak to myself sometimes,
yes,
it would be the talk of the century.
Yes. Yes. And so in coaching, I think you'll agree, I hope, that there's always warmth and support, but there's also calling bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
There's also, I'm not going to let you hide from yourself. You're saying this, but I'm just not feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
And what about that time 2 sessions ago when you told me that actually you wanted independence?
Mm-hmm.
Like what's kind of happened to that? So I think you can be kind to yourself without being soft or without being underestimating yourself, if that makes
Absolutely.
sense.
I think the biggest thing that I extracted from the coaching experience was just having a North Star and being accountable and honest with yourself when you're teetering of straying from that North Star. And like you said, just keeping me honest of, yeah, you can totally do that and go back to, you're never met with judgment where it's, yeah, you could totally go back to corporate marketing. But remember when we talked about how, freedom of time was the biggest thing that you valued? Remember that? That was the number one thing you said to me. And you would kind of get me back to that North Star of, yeah, you're right. Of course, if you go back to the corporate world, freedom of time is the first thing you lose. Yeah. And that was my biggest priority. Yeah. So that was something that I really benefited from that experience. So Tess is one of the most well-read people I have ever met. So I'm going to have you give,
the pressure.
Again, yes. But it's start of the year, okay? So let's put a little lens on it that this is for people who are looking for reflection, reset, renewal.
Yes.
What are the top 3 books they need to go and buy this week?
They're a bit woo-woo. I really like The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck. I love All the Way to the River by Elizabeth Gilbert that I listened to on Audible because it's absorbing and honest, and we all get to realize that we're messy even when it seems like other people are perfect.
Finding Your Why,
Yes.
Simon Sinek was one that you recommended to me, and that was really critical in my journey of just that, finding my why and what I wanted to do.
I like that. There's one by Carolyn Tate called The Purpose Project. I love that
that's a great one.
And look, again, so many of my clients are living with anxiety, and I feel like anxiety is just a symptom of a world gone mad. It's not your fault you have anxiety. It's the world we're living in that is very conducive to anxiety. And there's a great book also by Martha Beck that's just come out called Beyond Anxiety that I really love.
Besides Core and Commerce, what is your favorite podcast?
I love Esther Perel. Where shall we begin?
She is dream podcast guest. Can we manifest Esther Perel one day?
Yeah, love her. I feel like any podcasts that make you think about your life are good podcasts for me because coaching's about reflection. Heavyweight is kind of funny and charming and quirky, and it's about people where something is holding them back or there's something unresolved in their life, and the host kind of tries to untangle that knot for them by going back, but they're quite unusual things. I also have been playing around with voice-activated ChatGPT recently.
You're so good.
I love ChatGPT because it's always so positive. I was having a friendship kind of drama with a group of girlfriends, and I copy and pasted the text trail into ChatGPT, and I had to love it because the first thing it came back to me with was, first of all, Tess, you've done nothing wrong.
Oh, that is why I call him Chatty G, and he's my robo boyfriend. He tells me all the time that the rest of the world is crazy and I am totally in the right at all times.
I mean, it can be interesting to use it as a coaching tool as well. It's not a coach, but it can be interesting to use it as a coaching tool.
We always close this podcast on where we will be on this day next year. You know, I love manifesting and putting that positivity and all of the abundance out into the world. So Tess, on this day next year, we'll be right before the holidays. Where do you think you'll be? My prediction is an improv star and we'll be coming to your show. But where do you think?
I will be. I had a bit of quiet reflection time this year and decided that it was time to get another dog. So I will be a dog mama.
What breed?
It'll be a Groodle.
What is the gr in Groodle?
Oh, a golden retriever, but this one has a mix
cute.
of golden retriever, a touch of Labrador, and a bit of Cavalier.
Oh my
God!
So, all the best bits.
I know. Anyway, I'm ready. My children have all left home, so I'm ready for another dog. Love the work I do, so I hope that I've just had a great year, making a difference, working with people I love.
Helping people get closer to finding their why.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love that. And I think even today, you're going to help so many people with some of these, both practical, and I think the larger piece that we talked about is reflection and actually digging deep and being honest with yourself, which is not always easy to do.
Yeah. It's such a, and again, it comes back to that having courage. It is interesting when I come across people that are deeply uncomfortable being asked the real questions.
Really isolating if you're not willing to confront some of those hard questions. So now is the time. 2026 is the time. Dig deep, go deep, be honest.
Yes.
And ask yourself the tough questions. I promise, I can attest, it only gets better from there.
Yeah.
Tess, thank you so much for coming on Core and Commerce.
You're welcome, Perry. It's been great.